progress here anyway. I didn't even realize that we got some factory-made 2x2s in here, which, you know, it's funny. Those things are really expensive, especially these are treated 2x2. Full outside ground contact type wood, which is not cheap at all. But I don't know what they use 2x2s for. Of course, I'm kind of funny. My lady's always teasing me about my 2x4s. Anything smaller than a 2x4 I don't hardly work with at all. For one thing, as big as I am, I have the habit of stepping on stuff and it breaks, and so I just consequently go to heavy duty wood right off the bat. And but she's always telling me that cute sells and big 2x4s don't. Well, I know she's right. So look around you. You can go down, you look at these mobile homes they're making now. We just got another one in here, well, it's not a mobile home, it's actually a big travel trailer, about 26 foot or 28 or something like that. But anyway, it's from the old school, still a good old thing. Quite livable, you know, it needed to be cleaned up, but that thing is like a tank. I mean, it's got a 6-inch heavy-duty channel frame in it, and a lot of cross members. It's got a aluminum rodent panel in the floor underneath to keep the mice and rats from coming up through the bottom under your trailer. They don't do a lot of this stuff anymore, but the weight of it, you know, I mean, it's really heavy. Now I see these 35 footers and the campers, you're pulling them, they're going deer hunting with them and stuff, and they got the high ground clearance, you know, they're up on, high on the axles and everything, and you can tell they don't weigh anything. They're made out of well, I don't know if it's actually carbon fiber or not, but anyway, it's some kind of miracle plastic sheeting and that kind of stuff that is probably stronger than aluminum, more flexible than aluminum, and lighter weight. And the end result is you can, where it used to take a 3/4 or 1 ton pickup to pull these things, you know, now you can, 1/2 ton will drag a pretty good sized trailer around now. You know, I've had that carbide blade in that saw there for a long time. It kind of acts to me like it's getting a little dull. And where I live, we don't have anybody around here for miles that can sharpen those things. So they're not real expensive. I'm trying to think, I think the last one I bought was about $7. It was one of those made by Irwin. You know, probably not the best saw blades that you can buy, but anyway, it's fine. They last quite a long time. But anyway, it's just pretty near cheaper to buy a saw blade than it is to run around by the time you pay the gas and stuff to go get one sharpened. You know, that's another change that we have in our whole system, is that a lot of things like that we don't do the same anymore. We have a much more of a replaceable society. We'll just go get something new. Well, this one's got a split end on it, but it's still no problem nailing it down to some cross pieces, keeping it from moving. Oh yeah. One thing about it, we got no shortage of spiders. We have a bumper crop of them. Just every once in a while you feel like you got something moving everywhere. This is what I'm talking about here. Can you see the crack here? Well, if you're going to nail that, you can nail it down on your stringers for a walkway. It don't make any difference. It's very usable. Yep. Some of these, I think 2x12s that were in here. Back in this shop, I built made some of them into a heavy workbench. I really hate to tear that down, but it's part of the building. And they were, almost all of them were split. So it was kind of like, I did like we did there. I just went ahead and cut them to length and then nailed down the split areas, and they've been in there, I don't know, a couple of years or so. And just fine. You can use them. What's funny is I remember when I was a kid growing up at Ridgefield, we had a local mill. Well, we had more than one. We had one at the town of Ridgefield right on the Lake River, and then we had one about a third of the way to the battleground. It was called Mel and Frank's Mill. And anyway, like all the sawmills back in the 40s and 50s, even the 60s, they threw away better lumber than we've got today. Some of the slab wood that they used to have, the trimmings off the side of the logs would have made a pretty decent plates. We used to build pig pens out of them and stuff, but it was still old growth, really nice wood. But they wouldn't use it unless it was just perfect. And you take around here, if you're buying a house, of course, if you want a modern house, this wouldn't work. But I'm just telling you that you can find in the 25 to 40,000 range you can find these nicer two-story homes around here that are actually 90 to 100 plus years old. And I got news for you guys. You won't be able to take a skill saw with these carbide blades and make it last a day cutting the lumber that's in there with that old growth, that fine paper grain. That stuff is so cured, been in there dry all those years, and it'll take the edge right off these saw blades. Our farmhouse in Ridgefield, after we bought the farm, Dad wanted to remodel the house and make it more modern, and he did. We hired a couple of really good Scandinavian carpenters, the father and son team. Their name was Chilbex, and they were really good. Well, anyway, we got into the walls of that house. We're going to cut some new doorways. We're going to put in some picture windows. And of course, back then, now we didn't have carbide tip saw blades. They were hand or machine sharpened high carbon steel blades. But anyway, they'd start cutting. They were going through 6 and 8 blades a day. They had to bring a whole box of them over there, and every night they'd run them by some place that was sharpening them and put an edge on them again for them. And Dad finally told them, he said, they didn't have a chainsaw, but we had a little McCulloch chainsaw. He said, here, use this or something to rough it in, you know, or whatever, you know, because they were just, it was working by the hour and taking too much time. Anyway, but you know, that house is still there today. It has got 6 by 12 floor joists on about 18-inch centers. It has a double tongue and groove shiplap crisscross underfloor, and then it had hardwood on top of that. The walls, each side of the walls was crisscross tongue and groove 1x6, rough cut 2x4s. Anyway, I could go on about the material, but this place is built like a warehouse or granary or something. And that house will be there, I guess, until somebody decides to tear it down. It's just in the way or something, because it doesn't have any bug damage. I could tell you a story about that. It's kind of funny. My dad used to work for the government, and you know, years ago they used DDT to sterilize the military barracks and a lot of things. You know, stuff was actually good. It saved millions of people's lives, believe it or not. But anyway, we were going to go visit his brother in California and be gone for a week or 10 days. And Dad brought home these 3 high-pressure metal cylinders, and they had tags on them, DDT, blah, blah, this and that. And so the day we were leaving, that morning, he took one down to the basement. He opened the valve on it. All the windows and doors were going to be closed. He set one off upstairs in the 2nd story, and he set one off on the ground floor. And he gassed that whole house all the time we were gone with that DDT. Well, that was in, I'm trying to think now, about 1953, if I remember right. And when I left home when I was 19, which would have been in about 64, there still wasn't a living bug ever survived in that house. We never had a spider. We didn't have anything. They just couldn't live in that house. Apparently that DDT was still in there. Didn't affect us any at all. Didn't seem to bother us any. But it dang sure got rid of all the bugs. So I'm sure that that house still doesn't have very much bug damage to it. in a way, it's too bad they don't use DDT anymore. We wouldn't have all these bed bugs and a lot of problems they got right now. But the biggest problem with DDT was not it itself, it was people misusing it. Another example of that, and you can research it yourself if you want, but one of the most misused chemicals that people get their hands on legally is Roundup. And the stuff gets into all kinds of water supplies and different things because it's misused and misapplied. You take on the farms I work on, for the most part, the people we had people that worked for us that were chemical applicators if they worked for the company, and they all had to have licenses. They had to have a federal license and in most cases a state license, even a county license. And this was before all these big regulations came along, because the companies did not want the liability of their employees misapplying these chemicals and then having some kind of a chemical accident of some sort. So they spent the money voluntarily to try to make sure that it was being used correctly. And I never got involved with the application of this stuff, but I was told by the people that did this that one of the major problems that they had is that when they used to sell this stuff in full strength in gallon cans, that the people that were inexperienced, you know, it's kind of a philosophy, if a little bit's good, a lot more will really work better. Well, they were mixing this stuff up with water at an increased ratio, and by doing that, and then maybe having the application followed by a rainstorm or something, some of the residue was getting off into the groundwater and maybe little tributary streams or ponds or whatever, you know. And so anyway, I don't think you can even buy it in its straight form anymore. I think if you go to certain stores that sell it, that it's pre-mixed. That's about the only way they could put a stop to it. I think the only thing that you can buy that's 100% is if you're like an aerial applicator or a licensed application person that has the permits and licenses to buy the full strength material, which is not all bad. You know, sometimes we complain about these rules and regulations, but many of them are made up for a very good reason and for instances that didn't turn out very good. I remember a long time ago over in Yakima, Wenatchee, various areas where Oregon and Washington, where we raised a lot of fruit. They used to use lead and arsenic and some other chemicals, which I don't even know. Actually, right now, I don't remember the name of it because I was just a kid, but I remember there was a report on the radio about a little girl that had ate a peach or something, over there at Yakima and died a few hours later, not knowing that they had stopped along the road, you know, and they saw these peaches on the trees and kind of helped himself to them, and didn't know that it had only been a short time since that orchard had been sprayed. And I don't remember what exactly poison stuff was on it, but it got her. So it really put, I remember after that incident, they really advertised a lot about not picking fruit off the trees and just eating it without washing it or something, because they were really using some pretty crude chemicals and stuff back then to control the insects. And so anyway, you know, you got to kind of be careful.